The ultimate upgrade, from zero to cosmic hero in a monster-filled world. Please like, share, and subscribe. Episode 31. Intermediate Formation. Energy came from the void, and Gu Jin kept mumbling to himself, agility. Although he didn't know if it would work, he still had to try it, right? His hands were transformed by the huge energy, but not as violent as before, but very gentle, as if he had soaked his hands in warm water, very comfortable. After a moment, the energy was absorbed by his hands, and Gu Jin immediately looked at the changes in the hand attributes after the upgrade. Hands, dexterity +1. Gu Jin felt delighted when he saw the dexterity, and the upgrade direction was exactly what he wanted. In fact, Gu Jin had a sense of letting it go in the previous upgrades, mainly because he didn't have a clear goal, so he just let it upgrade and see what changes would occur. But this time, for the upgrade of his hands, he had his own upgrade direction, and the upgrade ability was really realized. While making Gu Jin happy, he couldn't help but wonder, is the upgrade direction controllable? Also, is there only one upgrade direction for each part? Like the hands, he now chooses the upgrade direction of dexterity, and continuing to upgrade and break the limit will also be based on this. What if he wants to go in another direction? Can it be upgraded from the beginning to open up new features? Gu Jin is currently just guessing in his mind, and this guess can only be tried in the future. Now let's see what the hand's ability is after the upgrade. He grasped the long sword beside him, and the ancient sword cut through the sky. Gu Jin's every move was a basic sword style, but it revealed an indescribable charm. Gu Jin carefully sensed the feeling between himself and the sword, and found that the vague gap still existed, but there were signs of reduction. Buzz. The long sword was humming and inserted diagonally by Gu Jin. He came to the small table on the side and sat down. He picked up the brush, which was stained with the blood of the beast. His mental power was concentrated and his writing was smooth. Through today's rest, his mental power was restored, enough for him to draw a formation talisman without overdrawing his mental power. In one go, the mysterious runes on the paper guided the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, revealing the breath of energy, indicating that this talisman was successfully drawn. Sensing the process just now, Gu Jin found that his upgraded hand had more spirituality, which allowed him to draw the talisman more perfectly and reduce the consumption of mental power. Now he estimated that he could draw 3 array talismans a day. Putting away the talisman, Gu Jin felt that it was not difficult for him to draw the primary array now, and he wanted to try the intermediate array. He took out a spirit stone immediately when he thought of it. Unlike the primary array drawn with paper, pen, and beast blood, the intermediate array needs to be engraved on the spirit stone with mental power, so people who have no mental power or have, but cannot control it accurately, cannot arrange the intermediate array. Holding the spirit stone in one hand, a rune of the intermediate array appeared in his mind. This is the most basic rune, which will be used in many intermediate arrays. Suddenly, Gu Jin opened his eyes, used his hand as a pen, guided the concentration of mental power, and engraved the rune on the spirit stone. A rune was just a stroke, but Gu Jin completed it very slowly. The main reason was the problem of mental concentration. His mental power came from upgrading his brain, not from his own practice, so he seemed a bit awkward in application control. Fortunately, his hands had a kind of spirituality after upgrading. When he used his fingertips as writing tips, it could help him concentrate his mental power, just like when reading a newspaper. If he pointed at the words with his fingers, he would be more focused. Finally, although he was a little unfamiliar, he successfully engraved a mid-level array rune. Gu Jin looked at the runes on the spirit stone with joy, revealing a mysterious charm. Since the rune was engraved successfully, it meant that he was qualified to engrave a mid-level array. Thinking of this, Gu Jin couldn't help but take out his spirit brain and ordered a mid-level array blueprint. He chose the trapped array type, the mid-level maze array priced at 15,000 primary spirit stones. The effect of the maze is very outstanding. Even in the Qinggu realm, it can play a great role. Not to mention the practitioners in the Yangqi realm, once they are trapped by the maze, they may not be able to get out at all. The array blueprint will be delivered tomorrow. Gu Jin chose a few mid-level array runes to practice engraving, and his control of mental power became more and more handy. The next day, when Gu Jin was practicing the body forging method, the doorbell rang. "Sir, I am a staff member of the storage building. This is the item you have selected. Please sign for it." When he opened the door, he saw a man in uniform smiling politely. After Gu Jin signed for it, he took the box handed over by the other party and paid at the same time. Back in the house, Gu Jin immediately unpacked the package and saw the intermediate formation blueprint scroll placed in the wooden box. Opening the scroll, it was a mysterious formation, and various details were detailed. With Gu Jin's current amazing formation talent, he remembered it completely after reading it once, and then constantly analyzed and comprehended it in his mind. when he opened his eyes. This intermediate formation scroll has been thoroughly understood by him. This is the horror of a person with outstanding talent. If it were the previous intermediate formation talent, I am afraid that he could master 1 or 2 intermediate formations in his life, which would be an extraordinary achievement. Keep in mind the key points of engraving the formation rune, and then take out the spirit stone. After the upgrade, the slender, white, and extremely perfect hand with distinct finger bones was raised, and the fingertips were engraved in the void. He was trying to make a preliminary depiction and did not use his mental power to attract the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, so his mental power was not consumed. After 2 hours, when Gu Jin was confident that he had it all planned out, he finally took action. The spirituality of time guided the gathering of mental power, and he used his fingertips as a pen and mental power as ink to start engraving the runes of the maze formation on the spirit stone. He was familiar with each rune before, and now he was very decisive. But gradually, when he was halfway through engraving, Gu Jin frowned, and when he was 80% done, his expression became extremely ugly. Finally, when he barely engraved 90%, Gu Jin immediately collapsed like a discouraged person, and the spirit stone in his hand fell to the ground, and then the uncontrolled mental power disrupted the formation runes. As a result, the entire spirit stone was shattered under the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Failed. When he was halfway through engraving, Gu Jin began to feel tired, and was close to the limit at 80%. He could no longer hold on at 90%, and gave up when his mental power was about to be exhausted. It seems that I'm still too hasty. Gu Jin smiled bitterly, leaning against his body, his whole body exuding a sense of laziness. Picking up the teacup and taking a sip, the cold and bitter tea seemed to make him sober up a lot. However, although he failed, he was not discouraged. At least 90% of his previous engravings were very successful, but because his mental power was not concentrated enough, the process was damaged and it was not enough to support the completion of the formation. Now Gu Jin is looking forward to it. Maybe he will succeed after upgrading his hands again. Episode 32. Spiritual Hands. Gu Jin did not go out today, but rested at home to recover the consumed mental power. When the early morning came, the mental power was basically restored. Upgrade, hands. Gu Jin immediately upgraded his opponent again. The familiar energy soaked his hands. Under the transformation of energy, his hands continued to transform, becoming light and agile and comfortable. Soon, the upgrade was completed. Hands, dexterous hands +2. After looking at the properties of the upgraded hands, Gu Jin immediately took out a spiritual stone. His mind fell into a clear state of mind, and the whole person was extremely clear and calm. Then, his fingertips fell and began to engrave on the spiritual stone. But soon, Gu Jin stopped. Compared with this morning when he reached the extreme and still gritted his teeth to persist, and finally gave up out of helplessness, he was now more calm. But the final result was still a failure. After the second upgrade of the hands, the guidance of mental power was indeed enhanced, which reduced the loss of mental power during the engraving process. Unfortunately, it was still not enough for him to complete the final formation engraving. When the engraving of the formation reached 99%, Gu Jin felt that he was about to succeed, and his mental power was about to bottom out. Finally, he chose to stop. It seems that I can only try again tomorrow night. Gu Jin patted the crushed spirit stone in his hand, began to practice the bodybuilding method, and then washed and rested. The next day, Gu Jin got up early in the morning and began to practice the bodybuilding method, and then practice sword. After upgrading his hands twice and possessing that spirituality, he felt more sensitive to the sword and could feel the condition of the sword at any time. However, the gap was still erratic. During this period, he searched for a lot of information on the spiritual brain and the Academy's book pavilion, but unfortunately there was no description of the gap in his perception. He didn't know whether he was the only one who had this feeling, or whether this was something more profound in the sword way, and no one revealed it casually. At night, when the early morning came, Gu Jin immediately chose to upgrade. Hands, dexterity +3. At this time, his hands had reached the current limit. If he went further, he would break the limit and reach a new level. I wonder if it is enough to support him to complete the engraving of the intermediate formation now? Taking out the spirit stone, Gu Jin started decisively. In the past few days, he only really started to engrave the intermediate maze formation twice, because his mental power would be exhausted before the engraving was completed. Then it would take a day to recover. But he had tried it countless times in his mind, so he had studied the maze formation thoroughly and had reached a very familiar level. Under the guidance of his fingertips, his mental power turned into an invisible pen tip, engraving one mysterious rune after another on the spirit stone. 80%, 90%, 99%. Gu Jin's mind was immersed in a clear state of mind. Even at the last critical moment, he was still calm and extremely calm. Buzz. As he finished engraving the last rune, invisible energy waves rippled, and runes appeared in the void one by one. The spiritual energy was attracted, and the runes gradually emitted a brilliant light. As the runes flowed, a mysterious formation was formed. When he saw this formation, Gu Jin couldn't help but show joy, because this formation was exactly the same as the one recorded on the scroll. Finally, the brilliant array began to converge and was engraved on the spirit stone. The luster gradually withered and formed a mysterious pattern inside the spirit stone. This was the array of the Maze City array. Success. Gu Jin looked at the crystal spirit stone in his hand with joy. At this time, the spirit stone was filled with a hazy breath, which seemed to disturb people's minds. This was the unique breath of the Maze City array. Playing with this array rune, Gu Jin smiled and sipped his tea. Drawing elementary runes at the level of body refining was already shocking, and now he has successfully engraved intermediate array runes. If people knew about this, it would undoubtedly be a shock to the current cultivation world. Now that he has drawn an intermediate array rune, his mental power has basically reached the bottom. He has almost gritted his teeth to persist. If the Maze City array has a few more runes, he may not be able to complete it. At this time, there were waves of fatigue and dizziness in his mind. This is the sequelae of excessive mental power consumption. Putting away the array talisman, although feeling uncomfortable, Gu Jin still insisted on completing his daily practice. The morning was mild, and Gu Jin still did not go to the academy today. He planned to concentrate on practicing in the next 2 days to impact the realm of nourishing qi. He took out his spiritual brain and browsed it. The spiritual brain was like the previous computer. There were many consultations from major forums on it. Although many of them were boring posts, there were also some news released by practitioners. For example, where a treasure was discovered, attracting many powerful people to compete for it, and, for example, a relic appeared in a deep mountain forest. More often, there were places attacked by ferocious beasts and places where demons and monsters were scouring. In this era, these are extremely common things. Gu Jin mainly searched for the price of intermediate array talismans. According to the prices of major stores, the cheapest intermediate array talismans cost 1,000 primary spirit stones. The price of arrays with special abilities such as intermediate maze talismans is much higher. He found the price of intermediate maze array talismans on the spiritual brain, which required 1,500 primary spirit stones. This made Gu Jin seem to see a bright road to wealth. He could only engrave one intermediate talisman per day. Even if he sold it at a promotional price lower than the market price, he could still earn more than 1,000 primary spirit stones per day. Such income was not necessarily comparable to that of a hunting team composed of practitioners in the qi-nourishing realm who risked their lives hunting in the wilderness. Now I am considered to have entered the middle-income class. Gu Jin lay in a rocking chair, sipping tea, waving a folding fan, with a casual smile on his face. The surging river was as frightening as if a huge monster was hiding there, and it exuded a dangerous atmosphere under the night. When the early morning came, Gu Jin immediately issued an order to upgrade his hands. Boom! The fierce energy, which was completely different from the previous gentle upgrade, roared in his hands. His hands, which had already reached their limit, seemed to be torn apart under the ravages of the energy. But at the same time, it seemed that invisible shackles were shattered, causing his hands to undergo indescribable magical changes. Soon, the upgrade was completed, and Gu Jin loosened his hands that were tightly holding the rocking chair. Looking at his hands at this moment, they were like works of art carefully carved from white jade, with slender fingers and perfectly proportioned palms. Delicate and spiritual, while revealing a generous sense of power. Gu Jin moved his fingers, and the flexible swing of his fingertips gave people a sense of rhythm. Episode 33, Ninth Order Ultimate. Hand, Dexterity +3, Control +1. Gu Jin felt that his hand had an indescribable feeling. His fingertips stroked the handle of the rocking chair, crossed the teacup, and touched the hilt of the sword. At this moment, even without holding the long sword, Gu Jin clearly felt that the barrier between him and the sword had become weaker. Buzz. Gu Jin, casually wearing a black robe, was like a thick ink across the night sky. The long sword in his hand tore through the green light. The sword pierced through the air and swung horizontally and swept up the breeze. The invisible and subtle charm permeated, covering the surroundings, and the green grass on the ground was pressed down. After performing the ordinary basic sword moves, Gu Jin stroked the sword with his fingertips, and the ancient sword seemed to feel something, humming and trembling, faintly flowing with green light. Finally, I see the hope of breaking the barrier and entering the sword art. Gu Jin had a smile like the evening breeze on the corner of his mouth, and he was obviously very surprised that his unentered sword art had improved. But if other swordsmen saw the scene, they would be shocked. vomit blood in anger, and even lose the confidence to hold the sword again. Just now, Gu Jin stroked the sword and the long sword resonated. It was obvious that he had reached a state of harmony and integration with the sword. This is a state that countless swordsmen pursued for their whole lives but could not achieve. The unity of man and sword. But in Gu Jin's view, this is just one step closer to the entry of swordsmanship. I really don't know what the entry swordsmanship in his mind looks like. The next day, Gu Jin woke up and began to practice the bodybuilding method. With each move, his posture stretched, and the surging blood in his body roared like a dormant dragon, accompanied by the hum of thunder. When the body reached an extreme, he picked up the long sword aside and practiced swordsmanship. Finally, he completed the practice every morning. After reaching the 9th level of physical training, I can reach the realm of nourishing qi. Although he has been focusing on upgrading his hands and engraving the intermediate formations in the past few days, he has never relaxed his cultivation, so his realm has improved rapidly. Although he cannot reach the level of 1 level per day when upgrading his skin, flesh, and bones, he has still reached the 9th level from the initial stage of the 8th level in a few days. He also has a terrifying force of 50,000 kilograms, and his speed has reached 1 times the speed of sound. Not to mention the terrifying force that far exceeds that of ordinary 9th level physical training practitioners, the speed of 1 times the speed of sound alone is not slow in the realm of nourishing qi. I believe that with his current strength, even without using the golden flame in his heart and the thunder in his bones, he can easily suppress practitioners in the realm of nourishing qi like Liu Yu. As for the full-strength burst, Gu Jin cannot clearly determine his strength because he has never been in actual combat, but it is certain that he is now completely invincible to any practitioner in the realm of nourishing qi. After washing and changing clothes, Gu Jin hung the long sword beside him and went out, shaking his folding fan. He did not go to the academy, but came to a more remote street in the Magic City. When he came to the ancient artifact pavilion, the door was not closed at this time. He entered the store and saw that the empty space was filled with tables, chairs, and counters, but there was still nothing on the counter. "Oh, Mr. Gu, you are finally here." The moment he saw Gu Jin, Chen Geng immediately came up and looked at him with a bitter face. "Why does Mr. Chen look like this? Can't you sell any array talismans?" Gu Jin shook his folding fan and asked curiously. Chen Geng sighed and said helplessly, "It's not that they can't be sold, but they are too easy to sell. The price is cheaper than the market price and the quality is good. Some people buy them and then come back to buy them. The 10 talismans you left were sold out in 2 days. Later, customers came to the door, but I had no goods to sell." Gu Jin closed his folding fan after hearing this. He didn't expect that the talismans he made were still so popular. However, he has been studying and making intermediate formation talismans these 2 days, so he doesn't have the talismans of the primary fire formation now. Seeing Chen Geng's expectant look at this time, Gu Jin smiled and shook his head and said, "The primary array talisman is gone." "Ah." Chen Geng's expression collapsed in disappointment, but when he saw what Gu Jin took out from the space ring, he immediately widened his eyes, looked at Gu Jin in surprise, and pointed at the item in disbelief. This is a talisman?" Chen Geng said in a lost state. Primary arrays are drawn on paper, so they are called talismans. Intermediate arrays are engraved on spirit stones, so they are called talismans. Ordinary people like Chen Geng have seen the appearance of talismans through their spirit brains, but it is the first time to see them with their own eyes. Gu Jin smiled and nodded and handed the talisman to him. Chen Geng took it carefully, and his look was as if he was appreciating some peerless treasure. Indeed, for him, a mid-level array talisman is indeed a peerless treasure. Even if he goes bankrupt, he can only buy the most ordinary one. After appreciating it for a while, Chen Geng gently handed the talisman to Gu Jin and asked, "Mr. Gu, are you going to sell this talisman?" "Well, I'll give you 10 spirit stones for each one I sell." Gu Jin didn't take it and returned it. 10 spirit stones. Chen Geng opened his eyes wide, full of shock and joy. "Then, how much is it?" 1,410 primary spirit stones. Gu Jin said, shaking his folding fan. He then gave some instructions on what to pay attention to and left the ancient artifact pavilion with the 900 spirit stones he had obtained from the talisman before. Afterwards, Gu Jin came to the academy. It was already past class time, so he didn't go into the hall halfway, but sat down on the long corridor next to the hall, leaning against a wooden pillar, and stared at the lake view. Looking at the familiar scenery around him, Gu Jin couldn't help but sigh that after today, he wouldn't come here often anymore. Tonight he will impact the qi-nourishing realm. If he breaks through, he will apply to the academy for an assessment. Those who enter the qi-nourishing realm will naturally not stay here anymore. Thinking about how he entered school at the age of 15 and stayed here for 3 years, although most of the time he was not very happy and was ridiculed by others, at least he still had some feelings for the surrounding scenery. Ding! The melodious and deep bell sounded, bringing Gu Jin back to his senses, and he stood up and walked towards the main hall. Teacher Zhang. Gu Jin called Zhang Ting, who was about to leave. What's the matter? Zhang Ting stopped, her expression as solemn as before. Gu Jin smiled and raised his hand to signal. Zhang Ting nodded, and came with him to the ancient tree not far from the main hall. Today, I came to say goodbye to Teacher Zhang. Thank you for your 3 years of teaching, Gu Jin said with a gentle smile. Zhang Ting's expression changed after hearing this. After sensing Gu Jin's aura, she suddenly sighed and said, I always thought you had an extraordinary character, but unfortunately you were limited by your talent. Now that you have emerged and shown amazing talent, I believe you will definitely achieve great things in the future. But remember, in the path of cultivation, only persistence and hard work are needed. Don't forget what you have endured in the past 3 years. Let it become your unremitting motivation in the future. Episode 34. Entering the Qi cultivation realm. After Gu Jin said goodbye to Zhang Ting, he ignored his classmates who cast curious eyes at him and walked towards the book pavilion. Under the bamboo forest, Gu Jin sat on a stone leaning against the green bamboo, holding a long sword in one hand, watching the bamboo leaves falling down and the sound of the spring water in his ears. He did not read books or practice sword, but was in a trance. The old man guarding the book pavilion looked curiously, wondering why this young man who had not been seen for a few days came today, not reading books or practicing sword, but was in a daze. What are you thinking about, young man? Suddenly, the old man spoke, vicissitudes of life, slightly hoarse. Gu Jin came back to his senses and was slightly surprised. This was the first time the old man took the initiative to talk to him. He smiled casually and caught a bamboo leaf. I may rarely come here in the future, so I came back today to take a look. Oh! Is it the 9th level? The old man glanced at Gu Jin with a turbid look and immediately saw through his current realm and nodded in understanding. Gu Jin didn't care and said with a graceful smile, I don't know the old man's name yet. The old man's surname is Mo. The old man has a mysterious aura all over his body. He looks like an old man who is half buried in the earth, but he is not old. Old Mo. Gu Jin called with a smile, and then suddenly something came to his mind, and he looked at the old man in surprise. Are you the dean of the formation department? In the Demon City Cultivation Academy, there are 2 people with extremely high reputations. In addition to their high status, they are also mysterious because of their strength. One is the dean of the Demon City Academy, Tianchi Ling Yandao, and the other is the mysterious old man of the formation department. Many students only know that he is called Old Mo and his real name is unknown. Most people have never seen him. Old Mo nodded, which was considered to be acknowledging his identity. Afterwards, the bamboo forest became quiet again, and old Mo once again returned to the appearance of an old man who looked like he was half buried in the earth, with turbid eyes and absent-mindedness. Seeing this, Gu Jin did not speak again. He took a cup of spring water and drank it. He took out his spiritual brain to browse the internet, although the human beings nowadays are in danger all the time. Killing is happening all the time. But after 2,000 years, with the strong adaptability of human beings, they have long been accustomed to the current life. Many people go out in the morning to shed blood, come back in the evening to drink, or gossip about someone's family before the battle. Fighting and survival have been integrated into the bones, and there is no need to rely on hideous faces to tell. People nowadays still have a lot of entertainment in life. If Gu Jin was just an ordinary person and had no contact with cultivation, he might live the same as in his previous life. As night fell, the bamboo forest was lit, and the transparent light shone on the bamboo forest. Gu Jin drank all the spring water, stood up, and the unsheathed bronze ancient sword hung beside him. After bowing to Mo Lao, who seemed to have fallen asleep, he left gracefully. After Gu Jin left, Mo Lao opened his eyes, looked at the empty bamboo forest, and smiled inexplicably. A very special young man, with a carefree and casual manner, but a terrifying calmness inside. It was the first time he had seen such a contradictory person. Contradictory, but perfectly integrated. Gu Jin left the academy and returned home. After dinner, he did not go to the yard to drink tea and rest as usual, but sat cross-legged in the house. His mind sank into a state of clarity, sensing the surging blood and qi in his body. At this time, he had already reached the extreme of body refining. He only needed to break through the shackles and sense that innate aura to enter the realm of nourishing qi. Clear and quiet, with spiritual power pervading, Gu Jin's perception could easily capture the aura dormant in Dantian, the aura that came from the innate and was imprisoned in Dantian. Qi and blood surged and rippled. Ordinary practitioners needed to concentrate all their minds to attract that aura, and then, with the help of the surging blood and qi, let the aura break through Dantian and enter the realm of nourishing qi. But Gu Jin was a strange exception, an existence with spiritual power in the realm of body refining. Spiritual power can be said to be a condensed body after the mind and spirit are gathered to the extreme. Therefore, Gu Jin easily attracted that aura. Under his terrifying blood and chi that were several times that of ordinary 9th-level extreme practitioners of body refining, the confinement of Dantian was not worth mentioning. The confinement of Dantian was shattered, and the spiritual power pulled the aura to break out. In an instant, Gu Jin stepped into the realm of nourishing chi. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth was absorbed into the body under the guidance of the aura in the body, refined by the aura, and integrated into one. This is the innate chi that practitioners cultivate. After absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and integrating it, it can also be called spiritual energy. Gu Jin has spiritual power and is good at controlling spiritual energy. He absorbs the spiritual energy of heaven and earth into the body and refines it very quickly. After a while, the volume of spiritual energy in Dantian has increased several times. The realm of refining the body is to forge the skin, flesh, and bones and temper the body. And the realm of nourishing chi is to nourish the innate chi, absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to strengthen this aura, and then break the 12 meridians and the 8 extraordinary meridians. Use spiritual energy to strengthen the meridians, and at the same time temper the body at a deeper level. Gu Jin controlled the circulation of the spiritual energy in his body and sensed the meridians in his body. When the complex and intertwined meridians that looked thin and fragile and blocked and difficult to pass appeared in his perception, he could not help but sigh. Sure enough, his natural talent was really bad. With his current meridians, if Gu Jin tried to open up the meridians with those thin and fragile meridians, it is very likely that the meridians would be broken if he was not careful. Fortunately, he still had the ability to upgrade, otherwise, he might have to stop here in the future. Originally, after breaking the limit of each part, Gu Jin would be entangled when choosing the next upgrade target, but this time he didn't. In this case, what else can he upgrade besides upgrading the meridians? Without trying to break the meridians, although with mental power, Gu Jin absorbed the spiritual energy very quickly. The spiritual energy in his body grew rapidly and controlled it finally. But seeing the situation of the meridians, he still didn't want to test the endurance of the meridians. After breaking through to the chi-nourishing realm, practitioners do not need to find any chi training methods and still practice the bodybuilding method. However, unlike the previous exploration of potential and the forging of the body with chi and blood, the bodybuilding method in the chi-nourishing realm will guide the spiritual energy in the body, absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and increase the spiritual energy in the body. At the same time, it will also temper and strengthen the whole body with the movement. This kind of strengthening is more in-depth than the bodybuilding realm. When the spiritual energy in the body of the practitioner accumulates to a certain level, he can try to open up the meridians. Now, when Gu Jin uses his mental power to guide the spiritual energy in his body, the speed of absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth is already very fast. If he cooperates with the bodybuilding method, it will be even faster. Unfortunately, although the spiritual energy grows very fast, he dare not try to open up the meridians. After breaking through the chi-nourishing realm, there is no obvious change in his strength and speed, which is still 50,000 kilograms of strength and 1 times the speed of sound. But when mobilizing the spiritual energy in the body, it will fully increase his strength. Episode 35. Upgrade ability changes. Gu Jin absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, nourishing the aura in his body, and could clearly feel that it was constantly strengthening. The internal organs, meridians, and all parts of the body were tempered stronger under the nourishment of spiritual energy. The night was dim. After Gu Jin finished his meal, he lay in a rocking chair in the yard, waiting for the arrival of the early morning. The situation of the meridians in his body really made him feel dizzy. If it was not solved for a while, he would feel uncomfortable. It was difficult for him to persist in practicing for so long before. He couldn't imagine that if he didn't have the ability to upgrade, when he broke through to the realm of nourishing chi decades later and saw his shy meridians. What a wonderful expression it would be. I'm afraid he would be angry to death. In Gu Jin's thoughts, time passed and the early morning arrived. Upgrade, meridians. After Gu Jin gave the order, boom, a huge amount of energy roared from the void. Gu Jin, who was used to upgrading, couldn't help but be frightened. His weak and shy meridians couldn't stand such destruction. With a tense mind, he sensed the situation in his body and saw the majestic energy spreading along the meridians. The 12 meridians, the 8 extraordinary meridians, and many complex and subtle meridians were all immersed in the energy. Although the energy was fierce, it was still very gentle to transform the meridians in the body, which made Gu Jin feel relieved, and then look forward to the effect of the meridian upgrade. F***K. When the energy was absorbed by the meridians and the upgrade was completed, Gu Jin, who had been paying attention to the changes in the meridians, couldn't help but shout out. For Gu Jin, it was definitely difficult to make him say a dirty word. After the upgrade was completed, the originally shy and weak meridians like a little lily actually grew up. Yes, it really grew up. The slender meridians became strong and looked much stronger than before. But this didn't make Gu Jin lose his voice. What was really shocking was that after the upgrade was completed, all his 12 meridians were opened. Gu Jin immediately looked at the situation of the meridians at this time. Meridian, through +1. Through. Looking at this attribute, Gu Jin couldn't help but sigh. This attribute is really too amazing. Not only does the upgrade make all his meridians much stronger, but it also opens up his 12 meridians at once. If people knew that he had just broken through the chi-nourishing realm and opened up the 12 meridians that night, this kind of thing would probably be more shocking than those monsters who were born with meridians through, right? After all, if you are born with meridians through, you can only sigh that others are gifted monsters, which are beyond your reach. But breaking the 12 meridians in one night is not a matter of whether you are a monster or not, or whether you have talent or not. This is completely impossible to subvert. Not to mention Gu Jin's shy meridians. Gu Jin, who has experienced many upgrades and transformations, still has to sigh that this ability is against the sky. Calming down his mind, Gu Jin sensed the situation in his body, and the spiritual energy was running, flowing unimpeded in the 12 meridians. As the spiritual energy circulated in the meridians, the spiritual energy increased at an astonishing speed. Afterwards, it was dozens of times stronger than before, and the quality was even more refined. Gu Jin was not too surprised by this situation, as it was a normal situation after the meridians were opened. When ordinary practitioners were in the state of nourishing qi, they absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to nourish and strengthen the spiritual energy in their bodies. When the spiritual energy was strong enough, they began to open up the meridians. Every time a meridian was opened, the spiritual energy would be tempered and increased. Moreover, he also found that after the 12 meridians were opened, the spiritual energy circulated freely, and then the part passing through the heart was actually melted and tempered by the scorching and brilliant golden flames in the heart, becoming more pure and refined. Each time it runs, the spiritual energy becomes more condensed, and it seems to be stained with a little golden light. Huh. Then, Gu Jin suddenly exclaimed, his eyes widened slightly, and he discovered something new. His upgrade talent has actually changed. Next to the usual display of the number of upgrades, a new column appeared, which showed 1. This is. Gu Jin looked at the newly appeared upgrade number. The shining luster was different from the previous upgrade number. Then, Gu Jin's mind sank into the upgrade ability, and he understood what was going on. After his realm broke through to the chi-nourishing realm, there would be a special upgrade number every week. This upgrade can break the second limit of each part, and the number can be accumulated. Break the second limit? Gu Jin was a little surprised, but also understood. In fact, when the brain broke the first limit, the attributes were brain, clear +3, quick thinking +1. He did not continue to upgrade the brain, but upgraded the heart because of the reasonable use of the upgrade ability. But at that time, he had guessed that if the brain continued to upgrade, would there be the next limit? Then could he continue to break the second limit? Gu Jin did not try, only guessed. But the current situation confirmed his guess. Upgrading ability can upgrade various parts of his body, but this kind of upgrade has a limit, and it is not natural that it can be upgraded all the time. He needs to constantly improve his strength realm to make the upgrading ability stronger. Just like he can only upgrade his body now, when his realm becomes stronger and stronger, one day, he will be able to upgrade everything. And now, he is broken through to the realm of nourishing qi, and he can get an upgrade that breaks the second limit once a week. This upgrade number is not like the ordinary number of times a day, it can be accumulated. Gu Jin can't help but look forward to it. If he's upgraded to break the second limit, what kind of magical ability will he have? Thinking of this, Gu Jin decided to try it. If he chooses a part to upgrade to break the second limit, he currently has several first choices. The first is naturally the brain, which will undoubtedly always be his first choice for upgrading. The second is the meridians. The meridians are related to the speed of spiritual cultivation, running speed, running volume, etc. It can be said that after breaking through to the realm of nourishing qi, the meridians are related to the foundation of cultivation. Third, this part he had never upgraded, but now he listed it as an important option, which is Dantian. Dantian is undoubtedly an extremely important part for practitioners. The size and quality of Dantian are related to the future potential of practitioners. Originally, Gu Jin planned to upgrade Dantian after the meridians broke the first limit. Fourth is the heart. The importance of the heart is needless to say, and the heart also has a ball of golden flame. Not only does it have a strong attack power, but it can also refine spiritual energy. This feature is indeed extremely important. The amount of spiritual energy is very important, but the quality is undoubtedly the key point. How can Gu Jin not pay attention to being able to refine spiritual energy? P.S. I can't comment, so I'll talk about it here. Everyone has proposed a lot of upgrade suggestions. I have seen them, but it is impossible to upgrade them all at once, right? All parts will be upgraded, but there are choices in order. The upgrade of the brain is undoubtedly, and then the heart will be upgraded, because the protagonist is weak, and the reason for upgrading the skin, flesh and bones is that the body refining realm refines the skin, flesh and bones. The protagonist has poor physical talent, and upgrading the skin, flesh and bones can increase the speed of body forging. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll be stuck in the body refining realm for many years. Compared with the long-term and far-reaching effects of upgrading other internal organs, it will be more urgent. Now in the qi-nourishing realm, the meridians are the necessary channels for the circulation of spiritual energy. If they can't be opened, the protagonist's strength level can't increase, and cultivation can't be carried out because the meridians are too fragile, so they choose to upgrade. Don't worry, the author's outline is very complete. Compared to what you see, the author's outline is already very late. Each upgrade is based on the most urgent needs of the protagonist at the moment. Episode 36. Application for assessment. The next day, Gu Jin woke up from his practice. After entering the realm of nourishing qi, he could already sit in meditation to mobilize the qi in his body to absorb and refine the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Although the effect is not as good as when combined with the body training method, sitting in meditation can replace sleep, and the effect is better. In fact, in the realm of nourishing qi, it is not that various exercises cannot be practiced, but there will be no practitioners to practice. Refining the body and nourishing qi is the beginning of the path of practice and an important period for laying the foundation. Refining the body forges the foundation of the body, while nourishing qi contains the foundation of nourishing qi. At the beginning of nourishing qi, the aura in the body is extremely important. It has existed in the human body since birth and can be said to be inseparable from the human body. Therefore, this aura also has a strange effect. In addition to absorbing and refining the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to grow stronger, this aura will contact all parts of the body when it runs in the body and opens up the meridians. This will be affected by the body, resulting in mysterious changes. If some people have special talents in their bodies, the aura will be affected and changed, from plain and gentle to various characteristics. For example, some people are born with a good affinity with fire, so their aura will be tainted with the breath of fire, and the spiritual energy they cultivate will also be tainted with the characteristics of fire. When they enter the Qinggu realm in the future, it will be very suitable for them to practice the fire attribute. Some people have strong physical qualities, and their aura is tainted with characteristics, so they are more suitable for the direction of body training in the future. There are many gold, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, thunder, light, darkness, ice, speed, strength, etc. There are common ones and there are rare ones. Some are extremely powerful, while others seem to be useless. It is rumored that some people even have rare characteristics such as innate fire body and innate gold body. That is, the aura of nature has characteristics. In the future, when practicing the corresponding characteristics of the exercises, the progress speed is terrifying. Gu Jin didn't know what characteristics his body had, and he didn't care at all. With his previous shocking weak chicken talent, could he still expect something like an innate, ancient god body? He thought too much. But Gu Jin was very concerned about his aura, because when it came to characteristics, he really had a lot. He has great strength, fast speed, strong burst, and extremely strong balance and coordination, not to mention that he has mental power, mysterious golden flames in his heart, and thunderbolts in his bones. So, he really wants to see what kind of impact these different characteristics brought by the upgrade will have on his aura? He doesn't know how other people deal with multiple characteristics. He believes that such situations are definitely not rare, but given his current situation, it is really not easy to come into contact with them. Maybe I can ask Mr. Mo for advice? Gu Jin thought that among the people he knows now, it seems that Mr. Mo looks the most authoritative, right? Others, such as Zhang Ting, are on the path of a formation master. With his realm as a high-level formation master, he may know something. There's also Li Mu, who takes great care of him, but Gu Jin has not known much about this unruly uncle so far, and he doesn't even know what level of strength he is. But he can join the expeditionary army, so it seems that his status is not low, and his strength is not bad. Originally, this was a good candidate for advice, but unfortunately, the other party's whereabouts were erratic, often on expeditions, and rarely stayed in the Magic City. Since the New Year's dinner, he has not seen him so far. Let's see if we can contact the uncle in the next few days. If not, we can ask Mr. Mo for help. Finally, Gu Jin shrugged. Then he went to the yard to practice the bodybuilding method. As the culmination of the predecessors, the bodybuilding method is indeed very suitable for consolidating the foundation, so no one will choose other methods suitable for the cultivation of the Qi realm. Because it is simply not comparable. Unlike before, when practicing the bodybuilding method in the Qi realm, one must immerse the mind in the body, guide the spiritual energy to run with the bodybuilding method, absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, strengthen the spiritual energy and temper the body. Under the bodybuilding method, the spiritual energy runs faster, and Gu Jin found that his mental power and the spiritual energy in the body have a mysterious fit. They can be faintly integrated, allowing him to mobilize at will and making the spiritual energy run much faster. I saw the spiritual energy in the body running like a stream, and in the spiritual energy, there was a very special and mysterious breath. The integration of mental power changes the aura. The spiritual energy runs, and after the flesh and blood are stained by the surging blood, there are slight changes. When passing through the heart, it was tempered by the mysterious golden flame in the heart, becoming pure, and the aura seemed to be stained with golden flames, faintly filled with golden light. With the bodybuilding method, the thunder of the bones hummed and flashed from the bones of the whole body, giving the aura the characteristics of heavenly punishment thunder. When practicing the bodybuilding method, the spiritual energy circulated, and the special aura in the spiritual energy became more and more magical, and then slowly spread this magic, and finally permeated all the spiritual energy. Gu Jin finished his morning practice, opened his eyes, and a mysterious clarity flowed in his deep eyes. After breaking through to the realm of nourishing qi, his eyes and temperament also changed. After practicing swordsmanship, he washed himself and went out to the academy. In the academy where the magnificent and ancient aura blended, Gu Jin came to a solemn marble building. This is the student office. He came here to apply for the assessment of the class in the realm of nourishing qi. If he continues to stay in the previous class now, it will undoubtedly be a waste of time. He found the front desk, filled out the form and submitted it, then met a director. After confirming that his realm had indeed broken through to the state of nourishing qi, he approved his application. Come here for the assessment at noon tomorrow. The result of the assessment will determine which class you will enter. The director with a solemn expression instructed, and then said some details that needed to be prepared. Gu Jin thanked him and left. He did not apply for the assessment of the formation department, but the cultivation department. After returning home, Gu Jin solved the problem of food and clothing, took out his spirit stone, and began to engrave the talisman. Yesterday, in order to maintain the state of breaking through the realm, he did not engrave. After breaking through to the state of nourishing qi and breaking the limit for the first time, he found that engraving the talisman became easier. The amount of mental power did not increase, but because his realm was improved, the degree of control was also improved. Moreover, he also found that after the mental power was consumed, as long as the mental power was integrated into the spiritual energy, it could be slowly restored as he meditated. The effect was much better than if he just rested. After engraving an intermediate talisman, Gu Jin still had enough energy to engrave a primary fire array, and then his mental power was almost exhausted. Then he integrated his mental power into the spiritual energy and meditated to recover. It took 2 hours to fully recover, and then he continued to make talismans and talismans. Until 8 o'clock in the evening, after Gu Jin recovered his mental power, he did not continue. After all, he would be tired after concentrating all his mind for a long time. Put away the 3 talismans and 3 talismans he had made, Gu Jin hung the ancient sword by his side, and then went out. Episode 37. 8 Meridians Open Up. In a remote alley, in the ancient artifact pavilion, Chen Geng looked at the talismans and talismans that Gu Jin took out, his eyes wide open, as if he saw a pile of rare treasures. After a moment, he came back to his senses and stared at Gu Jin blankly. These are all sold? Well, what about the talismans that you put here before? Have you sold them? Gu Jin sat on a wooden chair, swaying a folding fan and leisurely sipping tea. Sold. This is a spirit stone. Chen Geng nodded repeatedly after hearing this, then went behind the counter and carefully took out the spirit stone and placed it in front of Gu Jin. Gu Jin counted and gave 10 to Chen Geng and put the rest in the space ring. This is yours. Seeing the 10 crystal clear spirit stones, Chen Geng couldn't suppress his joy and quickly put them away. Then he hesitated and said, "That. Mr. Gu, don't you think it's a loss to sell this intermediate maze array talisman for only 1,410 spirit stones? It's 90 spirit stones less than the market price. You don't know how happy the buyer is." Chen Geng's expression was extremely exaggerated and painful. Gu Jin smiled and shook his head. 90 spirit stones were not a small amount for Qin, nor for most ordinary people. His entire fortune before was even only a dozen spirit stones. But business is not done this way, and it is not calculated this way. 90 spirit stones are a large amount for ordinary people, but will ordinary people buy intermediate array talismans? Even ordinary practitioners are reluctant to buy them. For example, the hunting team composed of the chi-nourishing realm that Gu Jin encountered in the previous mission could not afford the maze talisman. It's not that he can't afford it, but if he buys it and uses it, he can't make back the cost at all. At most, he buys it as a life-saving trump card and keeps it as a treasure. Those who can use it are either from a wealthy family. Would such a person care about the 90 spirit stones? Or they are practitioners in the Qingu realm, and his target is also a person in this realm. With an ordinary background, he became a practitioner in the Qingu realm by relying on his talent. He has a good income, but he can't squander it at will. Such people will consider buying his talismans, otherwise they will go to large stores with a guaranteed reputation to buy them. Of course, Gu Jin is not worried about sales. If the quality of his talismans is good, there will always be repeat customers, and even people who have bought them will help him promote them. It is recommended that friends around him buy it. Moreover, his production is not high. He can only make 3 talismans and talismans at most 6 hours a day. This amount is not even a speck of dust in the Magic City with a high penetration rate of practitioners. Ordinary people can't imagine how terrible the consumption of resources by powerful practitioners is. Gu Jin agreed with Qin that he would provide 3 primary array talismans and 3 intermediate array talismans every day, considering that he would have time to make them after going to school and practicing. And this can also bring him an income of nearly 4,500 spirit stones every day. Such an income is considered high income even in the Chenggu realm. Qin and I found a top restaurant to eat. The restaurant is located in a 100-meter-high building. Through the floor-to-ceiling glass windows, we can see the prosperous Magic City. The lanterns are bright and charming under the night sky. No one would have thought that this is a world of fighting all the time. Perhaps only when you see the standing killing wall will it wake you up and not immerse yourself in the world of luxury. A meal cost 100 spirit stones, which was enough for him to use for several years in the past, but Gu Jin didn't care. It's not that he has more money and is generous, but he has always been so casual. In the past, he didn't have the capital, and if he didn't calculate the expenses carefully, he might really not be able to survive. Of course, this is the situation when he doesn't rely on others. Li Mu is happy to help him, but he refuses. Now the situation is different, so he won't wrong himself. After returning home, Gu Jin engraved a talisman and a talisman. After recovering his mental strength, the early morning came early and the number of upgrades was restored. Upgrade, meridians. The surging energy flooded the meridians of the whole body in an instant. Gu Jin clearly felt that the meridians of the whole body became stronger under the energy transformation, several times stronger than before. After the upgrade was completed, the meridians became meridian through +2. Even after experiencing the shock of last night, Gu Jin still couldn't remain calm after seeing the results of the upgrade tonight, because all his 8 meridians were opened. This also means that if he wants now, he can already impact the Qingu realm. 2 days. Just 2 days. Just opened up the 12 meridians and the 8 extraordinary meridians. What a shocking subversion. After calming down, Gu Jin looked at the meridians that had grown a circle and smiled like a father. It was great to be able to grow and thrive. Of course, he would not be stupid enough to choose to break through now. What is the purpose of not practicing the basic exercises in the Yangqi realm? Isn't it just to nourish the innate aura in the body? Not to mention that the amount and quality of his spiritual energy are nothing in the Yangqi realm now, and the foundation is too weak to break through. What's more, the most important thing in the Yangqi realm is to let the innate aura be stained with one's own characteristics, which is equivalent to increasing one's own talent and determining the direction for future cultivation. A Yangqi realm lets the aura be stained with the characteristics of fire, and then finds a fire attribute technique in the Qingu realm to exert extraordinary strength. And a Yangqi realm does not let the aura be stained with characteristics. The aura is ordinary and peaceful, and after breaking through to the Qingu realm, it is almost the same to practice any technique without bonus. And it cannot be extraordinary after practicing. Comparing the two, it is clear who is better and who is worse. Now Gu Jin's overall physical quality is extremely strong, which is an outstanding characteristic, not to mention mental power, golden flame, and thunder. As long as he is not stupid, he will not choose to break through now. Now there is golden flame and thunder to help refine the spiritual energy, so the quality of the spiritual energy is not a problem. And with the assistance of mental power, plus the amazing talent, the speed of cultivation is not a problem. So, what he has to deal with now is what to do with multiple characteristics. Now Gu Jin has no clue, so when practicing, he changes with the aura autonomously, whether it is to be strengthened by the physical quality, to be contaminated by golden flame, to be contaminated by thunder, or to be fused with mental power. It seems that I have to find a time to go to the book pavilion and ask Mr. Mo for advice. Gu Jin sent several messages to Uncle Li Mu today but did not receive a reply. Either he had no time or he entered a signal-free area. The spiritual brain uses spiritual energy as a signal, which will basically not be interrupted. However, if it enters some isolated places with forbidden formations, the spiritual energy will be cut off and the signal will naturally be interrupted. Episode 38, Assessment Showdown. The dazzling golden light brings a strong vitality. The vast Huangfu River in front of the door is sparkling and dazzling, and the scenery is extremely spectacular. Logically speaking, the riverside area, where you can see beautiful scenery at sunrise and sunset, should be very popular and many people live there. Unfortunately, under this seemingly beautiful river view, I don't know how much murderous intent is hidden. Huangfu River leads to the sea, and the ocean is the enemy of the magic city. Small battles continue every year, and large battles are common. When the fierce beasts and demons of the ocean invade, the first choice is of course Huangfu River. The estuary of Huangfu River is crossed by a killing wall, and there is a huge valve made of divine gold, 600 meters high and 1,000 meters wide. And the underwater is full of formations and prohibitions. Whenever the fierce beasts of the ocean invade, the estuary is the most intense area of the battle, and the river water is often dyed red. Once a fierce beast breaks through, the war spreads to the riverside area. Therefore, those rich masters are not willing to live in the riverside area at all. After the training, Gu Jin made 2 talismans and talismans, restored his mental strength, and reached a perfect state. After lunch, he went out and went to the college to take the assessment. In the student office, Gu Jin met the solemn director again. Seeing him coming, he asked a staff member to take him to the assessment site. The staff member was a young lady. She was not very beautiful, but she was very friendly. She introduced the content of the assessment and the details that needed attention in detail. The assessment content is very simple, that is, to fight with a practitioner in the middle stage of the Yangqi realm. The assessment is not successful or failed, but you will be assigned a class according to the result of the battle. The longer you persist, the better class you can enter. If you can defeat, well. Speaking of this, the young lady looked at Gu Jin, a little crazy, and then smiled and said, I have also heard about your rumors. The 2nd level sword defeated the Yangqi realm. Maybe you can try it. But the young lady's expression became serious, which made Gu Jin feel the powerful strength. Even if she was an inconspicuous staff member of the college, her strength would not be weak. Here, it means that it will not be weak, which means at least the Qinggu realm. The young lady reminded, never underestimate any opponent. In the world of practitioners, strength is the foundation, but it is never a miracle for the weak to defeat the strong. Miracles often happen in a combination of many inevitable things. Go all out and get into the best class. Come on. At the end, she encouraged Gu Jin with a friendly smile. Thank you. Gu Jin smiled sincerely and thanked. During the conversation, the two came to a spacious indoor duel arena. The circular arena is about 300 meters in diameter and surrounded by seats, just like the ancient Roman Colosseum. The bluestone paved ground left traces of battles. When they arrived, there was already someone waiting in the arena. It was a young man holding a knife, with an arrogant temperament and a raised chin. He looked at Gu Jin with scrutiny and contempt. Fong Li, at the middle level of Qi cultivation, his strength is nothing at the Qi cultivation level. The family behind him is somewhat powerful. He is arrogant, but smart. He knows that he can't afford to offend the strong, so he bullies the weak for fun. And the promotion assessment is his favorite daily pastime. Seeing those confident faces who had just broken through the Qi cultivation realm become dejected after being ruthlessly crushed and defeated by him, he felt a kind of morbid excitement every time at this time. After bringing Gu Jin here, the young lady retreated to the high platform. Are you ready? Fong Li spoke, his tone condescending, his eyes looking at prey. Gu Jin casually took off the unsheathed bronze ancient sword hanging on his waist, nodded, and smiled casually, like a wisp of changing wind in the bamboo forest. Fong Li held the hilt of the knife, and the knife slowly unsheathed. His eyes became more and more fierce. Go all out. If you can't hold on, call a halt. The assessment is over, of course. You can also defeat me. The assessment is also over. Having said that, the disdainful smile at the corner of his mouth revealed his thoughts. It has been a long time since anyone upgraded the assessment, so he naturally have to seize the opportunity to have a good time. And seeing the other party's appearance and demeanor that he could not reach, especially the current appearance, makes him feel ashamed. It makes him even more unacceptable, and he wants to break his appearance immediately and finally make him beg for mercy. As he finished speaking, the long sword was unsheathed, and the momentum of his whole body condensed to the extreme. The figure who was slowly drawing the sword rushed forward, and the long sword burst into brilliant light and fell. Without using spiritual energy, go all out. Gu Jin looked at the figure that appeared in front of him in an instant and analyzed the opponent's situation in his mind. The long sword tore through the air and made a shrill whistle. The sharp breath made the skin's Yinghua characteristics instinctively show defense. Suppressing the Yinghua that was about to emerge, Gu Jin casually raised the long sword at a strange angle and blocked the long sword with an unusual posture. Dang! The ripples of the metal buzzing sound. Gu Jin was obviously not suitable for the full-strength burst of the sword-holding posture, but he took the knife steadily. The young lady who was watching even changed her expression slightly. With her strength level, she clearly saw that the long sword was just slightly swung away. That was because the recoil force affected the control of the sword. With one move, who would win and who would lose, she already had a basic conclusion in her mind. Buzz. Gu Jin's long sword hummed and trembled, and the huge force of the sword move instantly burst out, which made Feng Li, who barely controlled the long sword, change his expression and feel the terrifying force like the roar of a wild beast. The long sword in his hand could hardly be held and was about to be shaken away. If he had not mobilized all his spiritual power, he would have probably knocked the long sword away. For a swordsman, this is undoubtedly more hurtful than defeat. Feng Li's originally proud expression changed, his eyes widened, and there was deep horror and disbelief in his eyes. It seemed that there was a beast roaring in the long sword, trying to break free from his control. He quickly mobilized all his spiritual energy to suppress it, but he still couldn't stop stepping back, and then he blocked the terrifying force. Feng Li was distracted. What kind of force was that just now? Is this the force that can be possessed by just breaking through to the realm of nourishing qi? It is several times stronger than his, and he can only barely resist it with spiritual energy. Gu Jin saw the other party's changing expression, and the arc of his mouth spread slightly. He was casual, but it didn't mean he had no temper. The other party looked down on him and wanted to treat him as prey. Naturally, he let the other party see clearly who the prey was. Step. Gu Jin took a step forward, as if he was taking a leisurely stroll in the garden, but in an instant his figure disappeared from the spot and appeared in front of Feng Li, who had just retreated and stopped, as if teleporting. In the other party's horrified eyes, the long sword pierced through the air. Episode 39. All meridians are open. Ding ding ding. The sound of heavy metal collisions echoed in the empty duel field. Feng Li, who was originally arrogant, was suppressed by Gu Jin's sword. Gu Jin's seemingly casual sword moves were obviously basic sword techniques, but every sword made Feng Li tremble with fear, and even his hands could not stop shaking. The tiger's mouth had been cracked at some point, and blood flowed down. In fact, Gu Jin didn't even use 3 points of his strength now, let alone the trump cards such as Jinyan and Lei Ting. He didn't even use his spiritual energy. He just relied on his physical strength to crush the opponent. Originally, he wanted to try how far his uninitiated swordsmanship was from the entry level, but the opponent didn't even have the qualifications to let him use his swordsmanship. If it wasn't for teaching the opponent a lesson, Feng Li would have lost without a chance to retreat at the first sword. In the end, Feng Li, who was gritting his teeth and insisting, felt that his arm was about to break. Finally, his arrogant attitude was shattered, and he lowered his head and called for a stop. But Gu Jin didn't pay any attention to him at all. After Feng Li even heard the sound of his arm bones cracking and shouted that he had given up, Gu Jin stopped his sword and retracted it without even looking at the other party's broken appearance. He turned around and came to the young lady. The assessment is over. The young lady's eyes still revealed shock. Finally, she took a deep breath to calm down and nodded, saying, "I will report your results. Your spiritual brain will receive the class information tonight, and you will go to school on time tomorrow." Both of them ignored Feng Li, who was standing there with a dead face, and left. After parting, Gu Jin came to the ancient artifact pavilion and handed the talismans made this morning to Chen Geng. The talismans that were placed here before were all sold within one day. Gu Jin got a total of more than 4,000 spiritual stones. Such a fortune is unimaginable for many people. However, as Gu Jin's strength becomes stronger and stronger, he will need to consume more resources and the value will be higher. The spiritual stones in front of him seem to be a lot, but if he enters the Qinggu realm, he may not even be able to buy a decent practice. Of course, the academy will provide it, but not all the techniques that are passed on are bodybuilding techniques. Starting from the Qinggu realm, the level of the techniques is very important. So Gu Jin has to accumulate capital now. After returning home, Gu Jin continued to make the formation. When his mental power was exhausted, he meditated to recover. After recovery, he continued to make it. He only had dinner and rested for a while. Until the early morning, Gu Jin opened his eyes after recovering his mental power. After a lot of effort, he made 4 talismans and 4 talismans today. Lying on the rocking chair, feeling the cool night breeze, sipping tea, and starting to upgrade. Meridian, upgrade. With the experience of the previous 2 times, Gu Jin was not too surprised this time, but the effect of the upgrade was not bad at all. After the upgrade, all the subtle meridians in his body were opened. The meridians are also stronger. All meridians are open. Gu Jin couldn't help but be happy when he saw the situation of the meridians. Generally, practitioners in the Qi nourishing realm only open the 12 meridians and the 8 extraordinary meridians. Few people would open other subtle meridians at leisure. Only when one reaches the Qinggu realm and practices the technique will one be able to open up the required meridians according to the technique's requirements. And given Gu Jin's current situation, no matter what technique he practices in the future, there will be no obstacles. Under the moonlight, Gu Jin practiced the bodybuilding method, absorbed spiritual energy, and strengthened the spiritual energy in his body. He had not fully understood the foundation brought by the meridian upgrade to penetration +3. Generally, when the meridians of practitioners were open to his level, they could have a breakthrough. But the speed of opening the meridians was too terrifying. Even though the spiritual energy had been strengthened many times, he still had not fully understood the foundation of opening the meridians, let alone the pursuit of a more perfect and consolidated foundation. But Gu Jin was not worried. He was practicing very fast now. According to his inference, he could perfectly enter the Qinggu realm in about 2 months. The next day, after practicing, Gu Jin went to school and handed the talisman he made last night to Qinggung. After arriving at the college, he still faced countless eyes of concern. After hearing their discussion, Gu Jin couldn't help but sigh that no matter what era, the spread of gossip was at the level of a nuclear bomb. Hey, I heard that Gu Jin has passed the assessment and entered the class of the Qi nourishing realm. Is it true? Isn't he a piece of trash? How did he break through to the Qi nourishing realm so quickly? Sure, keep your voice down. But it's really hard to believe. How long ago was it reported that he defeated Qi nourishing with a sword at the 2nd level of physical training, and now he has broken through to the Qi nourishing realm? Not only that, I heard that he also defeated Fengli during the assessment. Fengli? That young man who likes to make things difficult for students who are taking the assessment? He was actually defeated as well. It doesn't matter if I think about it. Gu Jin defeated Qi nourishing with a sword at the 2nd level, and now he has cultivated Qi. Isn't it normal for him to defeat Fengli? But what's hard to believe is, how did this piece of trash suddenly become a genius? Gu Jin was completely indifferent to the discussions around him. He would not get angry at the criticism, nor would he be happy at Qinzhan's admiration. According to the information sent to the spiritual brain last night, he found his class. The top class in the Qi nourishing realm. In front of the lake that was so quiet that it reflected the sky, there was a solitary bamboo bridge. The bamboo bridge was winding and led to the pavilion in the lake. The pavilion was large and well ventilated, and one could enjoy the scenery of the lake and mountains surrounded by mountains. It must be said that after the world changed, the earth expanded hundreds of times, and countless wonders also emerged, such as the one in the academy where every step was a scene. When Gu Jin arrived, it was almost time for class and most of the students were present. When they saw him coming, they all cast their eyes on him. There was curiosity, scrutiny, dissatisfaction, and provocation. Glancing at the pavilion, there were about 30 people present. All of them were very young. The information last night had a general introduction, and they were the top class in the realm of nourishing Qi. Most of them were young faces of 16 or 17 years old, and even 15-year-old students who had just entered school were not uncommon. It can be imagined that the talents present were all extremely outstanding geniuses. He found a seat to sit down, and there was an ancient small table with incense on it. After a moment, the deep sound of the bell rippled, and a figure also came from the air and landed in the pavilion. This is a middle-aged man in a black robe, tall, with a rough face, exuding a fierce aura, and his eyes give people great pressure. This is the class instructor, Suing. Seeing him coming, the group of geniuses immediately sat down obediently. Suing glanced at Gu Jin and said in a low voice, "This is the new student, Gu Jin. Let's get to know each other." After a simple introduction, the class began. Episode 40, Ancient Secret Realm. After Gu Jin entered the Qi nourishing realm, he did not choose the formation department. First, he can now make intermediate formations. If he enters a class that is still studying elementary formations, it will undoubtedly be a waste of time. Second, in the field of formations, understanding is more important. Teaching by example is not as good as one's own understanding. No matter how well the instructor teaches, it is not as good as one's own understanding. Therefore, the teacher is only an auxiliary, and more depends on oneself. The biggest advantage of staying in the formation department is the resources of formation drawings. In the past, Gu Jin had no money and still valued this, but with his current ability to make money, formation drawings are not a problem at all. So he chose to take the path of a cultivator. In fact, cultivators are people who practice all over the world, whether they are formation masters, weapon refiners, or alchemists. But generally speaking, when talking about cultivators, they refer to people who focus on practicing their own strength, and those who study formations, pills, and weapon refiners will have special titles. Entering the cultivator class can allow him to learn more about cultivation knowledge. For example, he is now in the qi nourishing realm, so he wants to learn about the knowledge of qi yun nourishment. Moreover, the training class also has resources. Just like the formation drawings of the formation system, the training class will have the opportunity to enter various ruins and treasures to explore and practice. There are opportunities to obtain various opportunities and training. There will also be various assessments at ordinary times. If the assessment results are good, they will also be rewarded with training resources. Resources are scarce at all times. Like the qi and blood pills used in the body refining realm and the spiritual medicines that can also enhance qi and blood, they can accelerate the tempering of the body. Many children from family sects can obtain them. The speed of cultivation is far ahead of others. The qi pills in the qi refining realm, as well as other spiritual medicines that enhance spiritual energy, are not cheap things. Those who come from big families or have support naturally have a smooth path of cultivation, while those who come from ordinary families can only strive for resources through hard work. Suing started the class. Unlike the classes of the formation system, the training class focuses on their own cultivation and strength. Gu Jin now has a book on basic body skills in his hand. Mastering body skills and using spiritual energy will greatly increase the speed. In addition to body skills, the academy can also choose a step of attack skills, such as sword skills, knife skills, fists and palms, etc. Of course, the grades are not high, and they are only used in the Yangqi realm. They will be changed in the Chenggu realm. Gu Jin chose the Qingfeng sword skill, a sword skill that focuses on speed and lightness. However, although he chose it, he did not plan to practice it. He is not even entry-level in the most basic kendo now, so it is better to continue to study the basics. It will also be a good foundation for learning powerful sword skills in the future, right? A class gave Gu Jin a lot of freshness. Unknowingly, with the sound of the bell, the class ended, but Suing did not leave, and the students all sat in their seats. I have something to inform you. A secret realm will be opened in a while. Hearing the word secret realm, everyone's eyes lit up, showing a look of surprise, and even couldn't suppress the discussion. Under Su Ying's gaze, he quickly calmed down. Suing continued, "Don't be happy too soon. This secret realm is for practitioners in the Chenggu realm." Hearing this, everyone was sad. They were only in the Yangqi realm. This realm has spiritual medicines that can improve spiritual power, so it is of great help to practitioners in the Chenggu realm, but the number of spiritual medicines is limited. In order not to overconsume spiritual medicines and lose the ability to continuously regenerate, even practitioners in the Chenggu realm have few places to enter, and they need to go through many tests. What does it have to do with you? Hearing this, everyone looked at Suing expectantly. Suing was decisive and not one to keep people in suspense. He said directly, "The Academy thinks that the spiritual energy in the secret realm is much richer than that in the outside world, which is conducive to the cultivation of the qi nourishing realm. Therefore, a group of practitioners in the qi nourishing realm were given a quota. Of course, the number is limited, and they also need to pass the assessment to obtain the quota." At this time, the students couldn't help showing their joy, and they were all excited, especially some students in the ultimate qi nourishing realm. They felt that this opportunity was given to them to help them break through the realm. They were also very confident and felt that these quotas must be theirs. Suing continued, "The assessment will be held in 5 days. Participants who want to participate can sign up within these few days." After explaining the matter, Suing floated away. Gu Jin didn't know whether this was the mystery of the body movement technique or Suing could already fly in the air. If he could fly, then Suing was at least a practitioner in the Fate Will realm above the Chenggu realm. After Suing left, the pavilion in the Qingjing Lake suddenly exploded. All the students couldn't help but gather together to discuss. Many students said that So-and-so would definitely be qualified and successfully break through to the Chenggu realm. Some of the recognized strong men in the class accepted these flatteries and showed their confidence. At this time, a student dressed like a noble man, very young and could be said to be a teenager, came over. He was much shorter than Gu Jin, and he was confident and proud in his bones, as if he was superior to others. "Are you Gu Jin? I heard that you defeated a cultivator in the Yangqi realm at the 2nd level. Gu Jin looked at this boy who was only about 15 years old, with his eyes full of dissatisfaction and provocation, and nodded with a smile. Humph, that person really lost the face of the Yangtze realm, but if I were at the second level of body training, I would definitely be able to easily defeat such a person. The man raised his eyebrows and gave Gu Jin a look as if to demonstrate. Seeing this childish and stubborn boy who was obviously angry, Gu Jin was a little amused. Of course, Master Chung entered the realm of nourishing qi at the age of only 15, which makes many genius-level figures pale in comparison. It's all because Master Cheng is so talented that he easily broke through the realm of body refining. Otherwise, where would some people have the opportunity to become famous? A cunning-looking young man came over, and his lackey-like attitude almost made Gu Jin laugh out loud. He stood up taller than the two men, and the demeanor he showed instantly suppressed the two men, making the arrogant young man stunned for a moment, and then almost jumped up like a cat whose tail was stepped on. As a genius with a great reputation, he was actually suppressed by the popularity of a person who entered the realm of nourishing qi at the age of 18? This would make him feel ashamed. Gu Jin had no intention of paying attention to the two men at all, and opened his folding fan and left freely. His figure attracted the attention of many girls. Apart from other things, Gu Jin was recognized for his appearance and demeanor, which was enough to beat everyone. Hey, will you participate in the secret realm quota assessment? Chang Rui's voice came. Gu Jin nodded, and his figure disappeared at the end of the bamboo bridge. Very good. If I have the chance, I will definitely defeat you in front of everyone and let everyone see who is the real genius. Chang Rui gritted his teeth.